Kia ora koutou, welcome back. I was one day away from locking in a green week and I blew it. Today was supposed to be about protecting my gains, but instead I forced trades, ignored my own rules and watched my patience go straight out the window. It's frustrating because I've been here before. I know what not to do and I still let it happen. 3 trades, 2 big mistakes, and a week flipped from green to red. Let's break it down. So the first stock I actually traded was PGEN. And what time was this? This was around 7:30. So I'd been in front of the screen for about an hour. I hadn't seen anything I liked. And PGEN popped up, pulled back, and I thought it would hold VWAP here. So I bought in at 365 on this candle here, looking for a pushback to retest the high. It didn't, it flushed all the way down to $3 and then bounced, and I sold at 332. It did go further actually, went up to 350, so I could have gotten out a lot higher. Well, a bit higher with a smaller loss, but I didn't want to risk it. I got out at 332. That was a loss of $16.50 for my first trade. And the thing that was wrong about this trade, well, there's a couple of things wrong. I hadn't confirmed that it actually was holding at that level. But the other thing as well is that this stock didn't meet my stock criteria. Its float was way too high. PGN had a float of 147 million. So I try not to trade anything that's over 10 million with that sort of float. So a B quality stock to trade anyway. And what was the news on this thing? I can't remember what. Oh, it had come out of a halt, that's right. So probably not the best catalyst either. And then the setup itself, I hadn't waited for confirmation. That it was actually going to reverse. So it would have been better holding for here and getting in at 320 or something like that as it came back up to VWAP. But that was my first trade. Second trade I took on VMAR. VMAR did meet my stock criteria. It was, actually I can't have a look at that because that is, oops, wrong button. Look for the financials, here it is. Yeah, so the float on this was only just over 1 million shares in the float. Its market cap was 2.24 and the price was okay for me. Still probably a little bit high, but it was okay. The problem with this, so the stock was okay, stock met my criteria, but the setup itself or the trade itself, I traded it in the wrong place. I saw it as it popped up through, I'm sure I saw it coming up through this area here, through 350, 360. And this should have been my entry. I'll make it a bit bigger. And this area here, around 380, 370. This should have been my entry here as it pulled back around the 9 EMA. At 370 for a pushback through to 4. So I missed that entry there and just didn't get in on this front side of this move. Sorry, notifications popping up on my screen. Yeah, so I mean, even here, that was probably a bit of an off-put there with that big topping tail on that candle to get in on that entry there around 480. But even getting in at the whole dollar, around $4, getting in here would have been all right. Let's get in at the whole dollar mark for a push over that. And it went to a 570. So it was a decent move. Then it pulled back, had a big, deep pullback. I didn't like anything on the way down here. And then as it rallied up here, I thought it was going to rally back up through to VWAP, and I took an entry here just above the 9 EMA around 455, around the $0.50. It didn't hold. It pulled back down to 410. I should have been stopping out around here, around 430. But I held it. It pulled back up here, and I thought it was going to push back up higher, but I should have just taken it off the table there at 435 and then seen what it was going to do. It didn't hold that level either. Came back down and was holding around 420 for a couple candles, but then it dumped through that, and I got out at 391 for a loss of $23, when it should have been a loss of around $9, really. If I got out around here around 430, where my stop was meant to be. So it did rally back up a little bit to 407, but I just got out as soon as it dropped below 4. Yeah, and then that rolled over into the open, so that was no good in the end either, VMA. So that was the second trade, and that put me on the day around, what was that, around $39 in the red, I think it was. And then I sat on the sidelines for a bit until PPSI at the open. This was a bit messy, to be honest. I missed this part here. I was watching something else that didn't work, so I switched over to PPSI because it had pushed up to make a high up here of 550, and yeah, but then it had this big pullback, pushed up back through VWAP, and I took an entry here at 506 after this dip. So even this trade here was a higher risk trade for me. It's a dip trade. It's not really on the front side, and this stock was not very clean to trade. A lot of topping tails, a lot of bottoming tails, and this thing was going up and down, like a yo-yo really. But I got in here at 506, held, and it did dip down to like 499, which is not that bad. It wasn't hitting my stop or anything like that, so that was okay. And then it pushed to 530, and I took my exit at 525. So got 20 cents, 19 cents out of it. So it was okay. It was an okay trade. Got in there and got out at the right time. But after that, I didn't want to risk it. I just thought it's not really pushing any higher. It's sort of in this zone here, in this zone between $5 and $5.30, and I didn't want to take a risk on this, and eventually it did break down and roll over, so I just didn't want to get caught in this here, flush down, so stayed out of that. But that was only a small win. I can only do 28 shares on that, so that was only $5 profit on PPSI, so very small win on that one. Yeah, but this actually, when this dipped down, because I had a preset order in here around 506, thinking this would come down kind of like this in a couple of candles and sort of hold around that level, but that big flush there kind of scared me a bit, to be honest. And I got in like right on the bottom of that flush, and then it just, yeah, so kind of good prediction there on the entry, but not the A quality setup that I really wanted to be trading. Yeah, so not a great way to end the week. So took 3 trades today, $16.50 loss on PGEN and $23 loss on VMAR and $5.30 win on PPSI, which gave me a loss of $34.22 for the end of the week. And if I bring up the rest of the week, that puts me at a loss of $12.80 on the week. And yeah, that's not a big loss for the end of the week. And to be honest, you know, next week I'll make that up probably pretty easily as long as I trade with focus, patience, and discipline. Sometimes, you know, sometimes you feel like you're doing well and you kind of lose your focus. And I think sometimes I have that problem where I feel like I'm doing well and I feel like I'm achieving what I'm meant to be doing and doing all that, and I'm positive about it, and I get into the zone of just, oh, it's all good, I'm doing well, and I lose that focus and patience, and I just become a little bit easygoing, and that's when I have these trades that I shouldn't be in, shouldn't be taking, and they are the ones that are causing havoc on my account. So that's something I have to really focus on, is that when I am feeling that I am progressing or doing well and I'm up and, you know, feeling good about myself, then I need to be careful and make sure I keep that focus in on what I need to do. The lesson is simple. Impatience cost me. You know, I took trades that barely met my criteria, chased entries, and didn't protect my week when I had the chance. It's a tough way to end what could have been, you know, a green week. But the only thing I can do now is reset, review my rules, and come back next week ready to slow down, wait for A+ setups, and trade with discipline. If you've been through this kind of week in your own trading, drop a comment and let me know how you bounce back. And if you want to see whether I can turn it around next week, hit subscribe so you can follow the journey in real time. I'll see you next week. Hei te rā wiki.